Hey everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show. We are celebrating I Love Lucy in style. We have executive producer, director, author, and great friend of our show, Lucille Ball's former publicist, Thomas J. Watson, joining us. This is his return visit here. He's very excited to share some amazing things. Last time he was on with us, he had some great things to share about the DVDs and the colorization of some of the Lucy episodes and so much more. And joining us is a revered and renowned television editor who actually has worked on multiple projects, including this project with the re-release and now on Blu-ray of the complete I Love Lucy series. Hey gang, it's so great to have you here as we celebrate I Love Lucy. Jim Masters here reporting for duty. We're in the New York area here in the United States, and we're celebrating this series in style with some exciting news about the Blu-ray release and everything else. If you want to say hello, drop a comment below. Let us know, what is your favorite I Love Lucy episode? You know that we've had Lucie Arnaz on our show. Lucie Arnaz is a wonderful friend of our show. She's actually a dear personal friend, and she's amazing. She's been a guest on our show, and we've seen her perform so many times with her Great One Woman show. And she's mentioned a lot of different things, about the years with, of course, her wonderful parents, Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz, her husband, Lawrence Luckham-Bill, who wrote his memoir. He's been with us recently as well. But Lucy, again, a wonderful dear friend. And you may remember she has been a guest on our show several times. You can always go back and you can relive those amazing episodes, lots of laughs, lots of memories. They're archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We have also, for the Lucy fans out there, we've had Greg Oppenheimer as a special guest. He is the son of I Love Lucy creator, head writer, Jess Oppenheimer. If you didn't see that episode, boy, does he share some amazing behind-the-scenes stories and lots of incredible things about the series and how it was all put together. And you may also remember recently, Keith Thibodeau was here, who was Little Ricky on I Love Lucy. He was with us recently for a fantastic conversation. And then, so you can see all these, archived on our YouTube channel. If you are super Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz fan, I Love Lucy fan. We also had Tina Cole with us and Stanley Livingston as well, and Larry Matthews, because they are part of the Desilu kids. They grew up on the set of Desilu Studios with My Three Sons and the Dick Van Dyke Show, and they've all been guests on our show as well, which is very, very exciting. So we are, again, celebrating this wonderful series with some very special guests who have ties to the series because they are super fans, but also they work in the industry and they've been doing this work for quite some time, and we're very, very excited about this. Now, of course, I Love Lucy is one of the most beloved series of all time, starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. And who doesn't love them? Who doesn't love the series? And back in October 1951, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz debuted the first episode of what was to become one of the best loved and most watched TV shows of all time. Zany redhead Lucy and her Cuban band leader husband, Ricky Ricardo, along with their neighbors and comic foils, Ethel and Fred Mertz, of course, played by Vivian, Vance, and William Frawley, got into the most hilarious predicaments ever imaginable. So many predicaments as well, and so many laughs and so many fantastic memories. We're going to talk about that here on this episode as well. And overflowing with notable guest stars and escapades that never lose their entertainment value. It's no wonder why everyone still loves Lucy. The must-own collection that we're talking about contains all the classic episodes from the 6 seasons of I Love Lucy, 1951 to 1957, plus 3 iconic remastered seasons of the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, 1957 through 1960, and a newly colorized and never before released Lucy and the Loving Cup episode as well. Absolutely. New colorized, never before released episode. The Lucy Desi Hour, as mentioned, remastered with the long missing footage restored, which is quite exciting. Yes, because of the series I Love Lucy black and white, and then there's been the colorized versions as well. This is really something very special, folks, for the I Love Lucy fan out there. And again, there are fans around the world. Jonathan Angus, well, he and Tom have worked together about 18 years producing DVDs for CBS Home Entertainment, the I Love Lucy seasons 7, 8, and 9, followed by all 6 seasons of The Lucy Show, and then did seasons 1 and 2 of I Love Lucy on Blu-ray. Also co-produced the colorized I Love Lucy specials that aired on CBS 2013 through 2019, and so much more. Really amazing. So again, you're in for a treat, folks, as we celebrate I Love Lucy and the folks behind the scenes, and also preserving the incredible series as they have done in style. Here's the actual DVD or the Blu-ray set, which is really exciting. We're going to tell you how you can access that. It's the restoration and the remastering has been absolutely spectacular. So you're gonna love it, and you're gonna want to get your copies. And of course, there they are: Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball, and Vivian, Vance, William Frawley, and Keith Thibodeau, who was just again a recent guest here on the show. Speaking of guests, what an intro that was, right? Speaking of guests, let's welcome award-winning television editor Jonathan Angus and dear friend of our show, executive producer, director, author, Lucille Ball's former publicist, Tom Watson, joining us as well. They are in the Hollywood, LA area in California, and they've had the heat on, the air conditioning, the heat, the air conditioning. Welcome, gentlemen. Tom, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Pleasure. I know. We need the laugh track and the studio applause. Yeah. We need the laugh track with, I think Lucille Ball's mother is in the laugh track, right? And Jonathan, welcome for the first time, and hopefully not the last, to the Jim Masters Show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So you guys are in California, and you're all warmed up, Tom? You got the heat going?
Yep. We have the air conditioner on, so it's like, oh my God, what day is this?
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations, you guys. You're working in the industry. You've been paying homage to everything Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz. You've really celebrated this iconic series in such a beautiful way, and you've made it accessible in so many additional ways to super fans and also younger generations who continue to discover one of the greatest sitcom series of all time, the beloved I Love Lucy. Tell us about what initially brought you into the project, even before the Blu-ray, in case people don't know the story, to want to take this on and really remaster it and bring it out in all its glory. Tom, I'll start with you.
Ooh, well, other than the fact that the show has always been part of my life, my viewing life, I was blessed is the only word I can use to have a father who sold television sets. Now, I was born, I'm older than the two of you combined, but anyway, we'll forget that for a moment. I was born in the late 40s, and I've always said my parents had a TV set before they had me. So by the time I was 3 years old or so, I Love Lucy was starting. Yay, insofar as she's always been part of my life. And somehow it's always been there. And it's a wonderful tonic, if you will, for people who, it just cheers you up. No matter what your day has been like, you can put a show on and there it is. And so I've watched, as a viewer, I've watched it go through all the various technological changes we've all experienced over the last 40, 50, 60 years. And about, I guess, 25 years ago or so, when it first started coming out on VHS tapes, I was not part of any of that. And nor was sort of CBS. They were licensing it, but it was being sort of just put out by a group putting out VHS tapes. Came out, I think one of the companies was called Columbia House because it was, a subsidiary somehow. But anyway, then when DVDs happened, hallelujah, DVDs came along, and the CBS executives weren't very happy with what the industry was doing. And so they asked Greg Oppenheimer, whom you just mentioned, to come in and sort of oversee putting the I Love Lucy shows on bingo. There he is. On DVD, and he did a magnificent job. I have never stopped singing the praises of what that man did, because one of the things he discovered was that over the course of time, the CBS masters had been cut down because of airtime changes. You know, there was difference in how much time went to commercials versus how much time went to the program. In 51, it was a lot different than in 2001. And so he started doing those DVDs, and ultimately he asked me to come in and would I help with certain areas. And so I sort of became his unpaid apprentice, if you will, in my spare time. And when his dad only worked on the first 5 seasons, and thank God his father had 16 millimeter prints of almost every one of the episodes. So, and the original broadcasts. And the reason that's important is because over the course of time, the CBS masters, like I said, had been cut down, and there were scenes that had been cut down and shortened. And the CBS masters had been, or they had been remastered, if you will, for use on the DVD sets. Lovely. The 16 millimeter prints, when we took those missing scenes out and tried to work with them, they didn't look too good. You could not, there was no way they could go back in the show themselves. So he put them on the disc as bonus material, extras. So you could watch the show, you know, by itself, but then there would be a note saying, by the way, there was a couple of missing scenes from that episode. Here they are. And you could see them right then and there. So that was the best, you know, we could sort of do in those days. And then Blu-ray came along. I know I'm giving you a long-winded answer.
It's fantastic. I love it, and you're so good at it.
Long-winded answer is, you know, I have loved all of this series throughout the technology changes. And when they decided they wanted to do I Love Lucy on Blu-ray, thanks to the new technology and Jonathan, who, oh my God, thank you God for him. He's been side by my side for 18 years. How he puts up with me, I'll never know. But he's mastered technology that just boggles my mind. But anyway, this was an opportunity to remaster those missing scenes and have them match. And this lovely gentleman was able to put them back in the show.
Wow.
So the show, some of the stuff that one will see on the Blu-ray has not been seen as an entire episode since it aired in prime time on I Love Lucy back in, you know, the 50s. And that's the way I saw them as a kid. And so for me, it was like, oh, there it is. It's all back together again. Certainly Greg would have done that. We tried to see if it would fit that way 20 years ago, but the technology hadn't gotten there yet. And it has now. And Jonathan was able to work his magic and get it in there. And oh my God. And for me, the true...
You sleep with that under your pillow, don't you?
Yeah,
I would.
I do. What do you mean sleep? I just hold it.
He just holds it. It's his teddy bear. Yeah.
And for me, the most glorious part of that is season 7, 8, and 9, because when I saw the hour-long shows, which you correctly called the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, because that's what it's been named since 1962. But when I was growing up, it was the Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz show. That's right. And we put those original titles back on, just so people could see how it was in the original broadcast. Now that I've said all that, I can go.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Jonathan, you guys have been teamed up and working together on projects for some 18 years, which is amazing. How did it come to be to work on this, especially with such an iconic franchise brand and amazing talents as Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz and company with this series? It must have been really, both of you, when working on something that seems as monumental as this is to so many people. I mean, there's been so many fabulous television shows and series out there that we all love. This particular one has always been a standout for so many people. Um, did you have a heavy weight on your shoulders knowing that so many fans and so many people around the world love this show, and it was a painstaking process to really focus on it and get it as good as it is, which is brilliant?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. The state of physical media has pretty much changed quite a bit. Budgets have been cut because buyers are not purchasing as much, even with like a #1 title. So we're very grateful that the people at CBS, actually there's one person that we're so grateful that thought of us, because there's been so many changes through the years recently. So a lot of times it's just slap it down, if you get the episodes looking decent, that's the best you can hope for. But he knew that with this title, and episodes missing footage, that we really need to do something more and special. So I'm very grateful for, I don't know if we can say his name, but we're very grateful for that one person that believed that we could help sell this product and make it something special. Because I do think, if this footage was missing when it came out, fans might not, take this so warmly, this release. So we tried our best to really, as much as we could do with the very limited budget of physical media and the very, dealing with access to this stuff. Stuff's just hard to find once it's cut out of the 35mm masters. And that's why the 16mm film looks so warped and distorted. And so that's why it was very challenging like 20 years ago to do this. But, and so things can be done a lot cheaper. So we're very grateful that it can be seen and presented, especially the Lucy Desi comedy hours, where the sponsor material was so integrated within the show, and having the cast commercials from start to finish. It's just an amazing hour to watch. It just feels so fluid and integrated, versus once it went into reruns, it feels like something was missing, So we're very happy and excited for fans to see that aspect of it. And it's full circle for Tom and I, because the comedy hours is actually where I met him in 2006 and got started. We weren't really involved with the episodes and the mastering at that point. That was done by different people at CBS. So, but I was in charge of creating menus and that kind of aspect. So that was kind of what I could bring to the table then. Full circle now, focusing on the more important video aspect of getting all the time capsule pieces of television history integrated back in and preserved. So it's been a fun full circle over these many, many years. It's hard to believe.
How many times did you laugh as you were working on the series?
Yeah, right.
Just at some of the escapades, and
Isn't
just
that amazing? The jokes never get tiring, and they're so relatable, and it's so escapist, with a lot of current content, and stuff out there. It's, dark. That's just kind of the nature of current television. It's very dramatic, and sometimes you just want to escape from all that. And I Love Lucy, luckily, I feel, is always there for us to do that.
Folks can see the full episode again a couple of times. Wonderful Lucie Arnaz has been a guest here on our show. We've talked about her one-woman show and just so many different things. But one of the things I asked her, what does she feel as the daughter of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz is the success, or one of the reasons for the success of I Love Lucy. And what we did was we did a little short, which is a nice little clip from the longer form conversation. And here's just a couple of words. Again, people can see the whole full episode where she was a guest. But this particular one, we pulled this just this little quick short of Lucy talking about I Love Lucy.
This recent fervor and burst where people just can't get enough of Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz, Lucy, Ricky, all of that. What do you think that is? What is it about what they were able to accomplish and bring to all of us that still resonates today with all cultures, all generations, all backgrounds, all these years?
It was brilliantly written. Let's just say that. Brilliantly conceived and constructed. Those scripts, you can't match them anywhere. That's why they still play over and over and over and over again. You have 4 actors who believed everything they said, even as crazy as it got. But it was brilliantly, brilliantly conceived. And nobody was really made fun of. They didn't do political humor. They didn't do put-down humor. It's the kind of show you can sit your kids down in front of for 4 generations.
Something you can put your kids down in front of and watch, with 4 generations enjoying it. She's so spot on, isn't she, Tom?
Yes, and the funny thing is, when Jonathan and I started working with CBS in 2013, taking some of the colorized shows and putting them on primetime television, I can't believe I even said that, because when you think of taking a 70-year-old TV show and putting it on primetime network television, that had never happened before, and it was like, oh my God. But one of the things that we discovered was that when it aired like Friday night at 8 o'clock, still young enough, or still early enough for young kids to see it, and we got a lot of mail. Nowadays it's email. In the old days it was old-fashioned U.S. postage mail, but we got a lot of public response from parents who was saying, oh my goodness, I remember seeing that show as a kid, so I wanted my children to see it too. And they put their kids in front of the TV set on Friday night at 8 o'clock, and they said about 10 minutes later, we found ourselves going back and sitting down and laughing with our kids. It was like, it was funny for all ages, and it was so gratifying to hear those things from people, in modern era, that they were able to watch these things with the family. And the thing too we heard from a lot of people was it was nice to have a show that we knew was not going to wind up, you were going to have to explain the jokes or anything like that to the kids, or that would be adult humor that they really shouldn't have been exposed to and all that. They trusted Lucy, they grew up with her, and now they were allowing their kids, or bringing their kids to the thing. And that was just so wonderful for us, because it was a side effect that we never, you don't think about those kinds of things, but that's the way it was.
Absolutely. Yeah, and continues to
and the
be.
nice thing about the sets and the DVDs and the Blu-rays is the fact that once people own it, they can put it on at their leisure and show their kids. We don't have to wait for a broadcast. They can actually own it and have it. And that's the one thing that bothers me about the change in society, insofar as when I was growing up watching these shows and all the shows and the movies and whatnot, it never dawned on me that I could someday own them. I mean, that was just not part of our culture. You just didn't. You could buy a book that was about those characters, or the book that the movie was based on. But the idea of owning the movie or owning the TV show, no, you just couldn't do it. So then we lived through a beautiful era for an old dog like me, where yes, you can, thanks to technology, you can buy a VHS tape or a laser disc, remember those, or a DVD, and now a Blu-ray of almost every TV show you've ever thought of, and every movie, except nowadays, particularly the younger people, don't want to own physical media so much. It's all been streamed and whatnot, and they don't want to even own books or records. Remember records, CDs, whatever. So for me, that's a little hard to swallow because I lived through an era where we never dreamed we could own these things, and now there are people who just don't want them. So for me, it's like it's come full circle. But in a bad way, if you want, So
We have a climate controlled storage bin that has everything you just listed in it: records and CDs and tapes, 3/4 inch tapes, VHS tapes, of all of it. We have kept the original masters of things, and because every time you copy something, whatever, the generation is lost. But we just have every format in the climate controlled storage bin with all of these different things. Yeah, the convenience of having everything digitized and all is, but there is something about the tactile of having it, reading the box, reading the album cover, whatever it is, and feeling like, hey, I have this. This is mine. There is something about that, like you're talking about, that has sort of gone away a little bit, but you're sort of bringing that back.
well, we're trying to sustain it at least. Let me put it that way, and provide stuff that it's something. It's an old title, of certainly, but we're giving it sort of a new polish,
Right.
and at the same time returning it to the way it was originally as much as possible. And so it was a gift to us to be able to have the opportunity to work on this.
Exactly. Lucie Arnaz was gracious enough to send a little note when she and I were chatting, that I could share here on our show, the Jim Masters Show. She said, as you may know, which of course I know and you guys know, that the viewers might not know, that their family has not owned the rights to I Love Lucy since 1957. That's when her parents, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, sold their half back to CBS. And then, of course, then they were able to use it towards the Desilu Studios, another incredible product that the Star Trek, Dick Van Dyke Show, other things that they were involved with, mothers-in-law. So they don't have a particular vested interest in the series. However, of course, the history of it is so near and dear to them continually. She adds, for the fans out there, we are happy that it's been released in this new and improved form, and big congratulations to Tom and Jonathan for their taste and dedication in seeing this through for the amount of time that I know this took. Having worked with CBS Paramount for 3 decades, I know what an ordeal, sometimes it can be to, like you say, you got to get through, you got to dig, you got to find the material, it's a monster project to get something like this completed. But bravo team, Lucie Arnaz.
Nice.
Kind of nice, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy. Absolutely. We all love all the Lucys. Tell us about, people may also be intrigued because we said Lucille Ball's former publicist. Tell us about that aspect of your incredible career, Tom, and the opportunity to be a publicist for the one and only Lucille Ball.
Well, first of all, let me say that because I did have a chance to actually work with the lady for a few years, I would still be with her today, but she went on to better things. So anyway, I sort of got to know her and know, it was not fan worship. It was like we worked together side by side.
I was going to say that I think she was on with Bob Hope. You may remember,
right,
where Bob Hope said on one of his comedy specials, I just thought of this, I want to slip it in real quick. They were on stage. It was one of the comedy specials, I believe, on NBC, because he was always on NBC. And he said to Lucille Ball when she came on stage, your I Love Lucy is seen everywhere, all hours of the day, all around the world. And something, I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect like, they're probably even playing them up there, like up in heaven. And she goes, well, if they aren't paying for them.
Right.
and and continue your lovely story. I had to slip that in.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's perfect. One of the byproducts, though, of having had the opportunity to work with her is that whenever I've worked on subsequent projects for various people in various ways, I've always tried to, and if it concerned one of the Lucy properties, I've always tried to slip back into that role and say, I wanted it to do it in such a way that I thought if she were still here, that she would be proud of. I would never be involved with a project, never will be involved with a project that I thought would embarrass her or be embarrassing in any way, shape, or form. So to the effect that, I've been able to do anything, that's sort of what I bring to the table that maybe other people don't, insofar as I was blessed to be able to actually work with this lady, particularly since, like I said originally, I grew up watching her from 1951 on, and she was an important part of my life. And if I can tilt this a minute, you can see she's still around. This is my office that I work in every single day. And yes, she is very much still there. So for me, I was working at CBS in 1984, 85. I'd been working at CBS New York, and they moved me out here, which was a godsend, because then I was here and I got to meet her at various functions and whatnot. And so she knew me. She knew the name, at least, and the face and whatnot. And then in the mid 80s, she got very active again. And so she started to look to build up her staff, because she had, at one point, they owned 3 studios in this town. And over the course of time, it was just her and her husband and her secretary and a few other people that were brought in as needed for projects. And so anyway, she was looking to add to the staff, and I heard about it. And so I sort of raised my hand and said I'd love to be considered, and I got hired. And I was with her, like I say, up until the time she left all of us. And it was a wonderful experience. And as far as I know, it was wonderful both directions, insofar as she relied on me for a lot of things. And I hopefully, was able to provide what she needed. And it's funny, you say publicist, and indeed I dug out an old business card, which I don't know that you can read, but it does say Thomas J. Watson Publicist on it. Most publicists in this town go out and try to get publicity for their clients. And so, if I represent such and so person, I try to get them an interview with this magazine or on this TV show or on the Jim Masters show. I would call you up and say, hey, I represent such and so, and I would love to have my client be on your show. That's the normal route. And I did that to a limited extent, maybe 25%. The other 75% of my job was turning down things, because if anybody in the world did not need a publicist in 2000, it was 1985, 86, that era, it was Lucille Ball, who was one of the most visual or recognized people in the world, not this country, not just show business, but the world. And so a lot of my job was saying, no, I'm sorry, Lucy would be busy that week. And, and we got calls from all over the world. There was a company in Japan who called one day and wanted her to do a TV commercial. It eventually fell through, but that was the thing. That kind of stuff was coming in. I didn't have to go out and push her for it. So I don't know if I've answered your question. I got
You
lost.
did. No, it's terrific. Yeah, you sort
But,
of got it all through there. Rick Carl is watching
oh,
and
good.
says hello. He had a question. He said, for both Tom and Jonathan, hi guys, what was the most rewarding thing about doing this Blu-ray set, and what do you wish that could have gone on the set?
Jonathan, you want to check?
Sure, sure. The most rewarding thing for me was, legally, when the DVDs came out, there were things that they sort of they abridged some of the sponsor openings and such. And through the years, through pushing the boundaries a little bit with legal, they felt a little more comfortable that we were able to do the full openings, So you'll notice, so pretty much everything from the DVD has been ported over onto the Blu-ray visually, all the visual elements and extra stuff. So that's really nice to have again, a time capsule with all the openings that changed throughout the season. In the early seasons, there was maybe like 8 or 9. They watered it down to 2 or 3 as the seasons went on, but they're all on this Blu-ray. None of them are abridged, so that's really fun. The cast commercials from, I went through basically the archive of all the original broadcasts that we had access to, and hunted and looked for anything cast related. So that was really fun that some of that stuff didn't make it on the DVD because of, the smoking element of it. And of course we have our disclaimers and, this kind of stuff, but that obviously smoking is bad, but just to see these people, any elements or things that they're doing, that it's just great to see all this. It's a wonderful time capsule, and that was very rewarding to finally get basically everything out to the fans. I've been a fan of this vintage, marketing of the show since I can remember, since a teenager, since VHS and trading on the internet. So to see it in such high quality and restored, I'm just happy that people that also has that interest can partake in that. So that's been a big part for me.
Which is so incredibly important. Do you guys have a favorite episode? I mean, you've watched hours and hours and hours of first I Love Lucy. I mean, a lot of people, a couple of people have been mentioning, of course, the Candy Factory, but is there an episode that is your personal favorite?
No, I like them all. Now, if you ask Lucille that question, during the run of the show, particularly, if people came to the studio or someone had interviewed them, like you, Jim, their answer would have been probably the Chocolate Factory, when she goes into the conveyor belt and all that, because it wasn't just she and Vivian Vance in the Chocolate Factory that got in the mess, but for the first time and one of the few times, Fred and Ricky at home were trying to be housewives. And there were scenes, where Fred's got a towel or, a kerchief around his bald head. Trust me, you don't need one. And Ricky was trying to make arroz con pollo, chicken and rice in the kitchen, and it explodes, and there's rice every place, and they both groups got into a mess, and it was all beautifully choreographed physicalness, but at the same time, to Lucie Arnaz's point, the scripts are so well written and conceived. First of all, it started out with a very human situation where Lucy was a little overdrawn at the bank, and Ricky was saying, you don't know how difficult it is to make money. And she was saying, well, you don't know how difficult it is to run a household. And bingo, that is something that the conversation could have happened in any household in the country. And that's what Lucie Arnaz was alluding to, was the writing and the construction of the show are so human, but we can all relate to them even today. I mean, there have been times when I thought, oh dear, I'm going to be overdrawn if I write that check. And so it's a very human element. It's not some strange made up thing. It's a very human thing. and get, hopefully, none of us will wind up in that kind of a mess with chicken on the ceiling and chocolate all over us, but could happen.
But it can happen, exactly. Yeah, the episodes are so relatable. Everybody can plug into things in their own life, and they can relate to the characters, the warmth, the love of the characters, the way things would sort of work out towards the end. They would find a way to get through the craziness of her being locked in the freezer, or, you know, getting stuck in cement or whatever it may be. Which I think is so cool. Some of those things might not be as dramatic in our own lives, but still we come across a flat tire on our car on the highway. There's things that we deal with, and relationships with neighbors and friendship and all of that, which I think is terrific. How about you, Jonathan? Do you have a episode?
Yeah, of course. You know, it's obviously tough. Just like Tom, but you know, there's the mainstream ones. Who doesn't love Vitameata Vegemin and the Chocolate Factory? But I would say I love $1 Million Idea that we. I'm glad that we colorized that, and I think it looks beautiful. Being historically accurate with the colors, and thanks to Rick Carl, who has a lot of research that helped us with that. And Staten Island Ferry is one that doesn't come up often, but it's still a very enjoyable episode. It's not as mainstream in the half hours. The operetta is a great one. I wish we would have colorized at some point, you know, who knows down the line. But and then I got to say one standout, it's in the hours, that is just standout, that all fans know, is the Celebrity Next Door. It's just from start to finish. I love it.
Yeah, episode.
Yeah.
Tallulah Bankhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
I guess
I just watched that again recently, and it is funny. Yeah.
And it was supposed to be Betty Davis. Tom had mentioned to me.
It was originally written with Betty Davis in mind, and the lady had fallen and broke her leg just a few weeks before it was. They were going to get ready to film it, and so they had to find somebody else.
So in a little anecdote on that episode on the Blu-ray is, you know, most fans know that the iconic classic line of where Tallulah sets up early in the episode is about that she's allergic to strawberries, where she's at dinner. That had been cut out mistakenly in the 35 millimeter master back in the day, and on the DVD that mistake had been grandfathered in by the people that just weren't as familiar with the content. And so for this Blu-ray, we actually maybe 10 years ago found the footage elsewhere in 35 millimeter within the vaults. And we're very grateful that it existed in 35, because much of that footage that had been cut out, we're lucky to find a 16. So to find that so gorgeous, and it just popped right into the episode and no one would know the difference. It's pretty special now that it's all there, it's all intact, along with all the other, you know, cast sponsor material. So
Canvas Doll said that she just got her copy of the Blu-ray. Very happy to see Tallulah's episode in full, with even the lost strawberry scene fully intact. That snippet wasn't even on the DVD anywhere. Thank you so much. So again, folks, if you're a fan of the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, a fan of I Love Lucy, there are little extra things that you didn't get a chance to necessarily see that you're going to be seeing basically for the first time, guys, other than when it aired, right?
Right.
So that's really amazing. That must have been a painstaking situation to be able to go through archives and dig and find these things. How were you able to even know that those things were missing? Were people writing in? Were people telling you, oh, years ago, I remember the strawberry scene? Or how did you, through your research and digging, did you follow logs, TV, show logs? How did you find it all?
Well, in the case of the hour shows, which are the ones that I'm most proud of, like I say on this, because they have been beautifully restored. You could tell, first of all, they were cut down by Desilu. I can't blame it on anybody else, but when CBS had brought them out of the vault, basically as a summer replacement series throughout the 60s, times had changed even from 1957 to 1962. In those 5 years, the amount of time that was devoted to commercial elements and whatnot had changed. And there were a lot more commercial elements in 1962 than there had been in 57. So there were the shows had to be cut down to a different degree, to a different runtime. And so the Desilu editors went through and, well, they did two things really. The originals sometimes only had 1 or 2 commercials in the whole hour. And that by 1962, the style was 6, so they went through and took out enough time for it to fit into what the new time constraints were, but they also added 3 commercial breaks where there hadn't been one originally. By doing that, they would sort of fade to black and have what they call fade out music, where you get to the point where somebody would say some comedic line and then it would go, the music would sort of play out, and then they come back in and finish the scene or go on to the next scene. But anyway, we sort of knew this. That was history. So when we started looking, thank God Greg's wonderful work on the DVDs was so successful that CBS executives sort of gave us, I don't want to say carte blanche, but they said, let's see if we can find stuff, because we knew when we had told them that there was material. And so we got to go not into ourselves, but we got to requisition material out of some CBS vaults that were never used anymore. They're out there and either in the hinterlands or buried in Kansas. I don't know where they are, but all I know is there was a whole bunch of material filed away because no one had ever needed them or wanted them for anything, and they were pulled out for us. And as Jonathan was explaining, we started this hunt about 10 years ago when they first started to think about doing Blu-rays. And because we were so disappointed ourselves in the original DVDs that we thought, okay, if we could redo them on Blu-ray and include all of the stuff that we knew was missing. And these guys at CBS said, fine, let's see what we can find. So there was a search on. We went through all the inventory lists. Some of them were, dusty because no one ever uses that stuff anymore. What do you want to go back to 1950s? And they let us do it. And oh my God, there's a funny little story when we're the first, what's considered the first episode is called Lucy Takes a Cruise to Havana, and it was cut down to fit a 60-minute format. Well, when Desi first produced this show in 1957, it ran 75 minutes. So 15 minutes had been cut out and had never been used again. And so we've dug and we dug and we dug, and we finally found this 35 millimeter master on that sucker. But it was funny. A CBS executive was with me, a man who worked on this as well. His name's Angelo Dante, and it was the first job. It was the first assignment he had coming into CBS 18 years ago, was to go with me, and we went through all of this stack of old film, and we sat over in a studio for one Saturday afternoon. We looked through everything. No, and we looked at each other like, are we gonna sit here all day? Yeah, we better finish it up. And the very last box at the bottom of the whole stack was exactly what we wanted. And it was the original opening and all the scenes that had been cut out of that original 75-minute. It was aired once. I mean, nobody has a 75-minute show. And they told Desi that in 1957. And he finagled, and CBS gave him the permission to do it. But there you are. So anyway, we found it all simply by hunt and peck, going through the vaults, some of which hadn't been used in years.
That's so incredible. It really
Yes,
is.
we
What it
were
must have been
so
like
blessed.
two kids in a toy chest, huh?
Well, yeah, we were so blessed, but it's only because it was this lady and that property, that I'm sure if it was the Tom Watson show, they wouldn't have cared, So it's that, but it's that material. And on the Blu-rays, it's all been totally reintegrated, and it's a beautiful, beautiful show, I think. To see. Desi Jr. once said to me that he's always amazed. He likes the whole all the inventory too, but to his point of view, and he's right. The first 6 seasons are a half-hour sitcom. That's all they ever meant to be. The hour-long shows and the 75-minute show, they've blurred styles between the half-hour sitcom and motion pictures, because some of them were filmed on location. There were and they did beautiful big production numbers. One of the reasons the Havana show runs as long as it is, there's a whole bunch of musical numbers that, have been allowed to play out. And it feels different. I mean, it's an aesthetics thing that he was talking about, but he was always amazed that they changed so much, because, you're used to the half-hour sitcom and you get in, the bounce, 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 laugh, 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 and you're done, and the hour shows play different. And he picked it up right away. He thought, wow, they were doing so many different things with those shows. So
it's incredible. Yeah, it really is. Do you
one of the things Rick had asked earlier is, were there things that we didn't get to use?
Right.
And if I can continue,
we're probably on the same page of that we're both a little disheartened.
And then one of the viewers also asked, is this, the scenario that we're talking about with this extra footage and all, only on Blu-ray?
Yes. Right now, that's the only way you can.
We haven't seen it ported to streaming. I don't anticipate that's even on their radar. It's a
so Kathleen in New York City, I think if you head over to Best Buy, they have a deal on Blu-ray players right now, or if you don't have one.
One of the things too that someone else had asked yesterday was about the streaming, and I have no contact with people in that streaming area. I don't expect these totally remastered shows to show up over there anytime soon. So if
this is exclusive when you get them on Blu-ray. It's real collectors.
Took a great deal of time, even back 20 years ago, when Greg was doing the remastering of the I Love Lucy's for the DVD versions. He was kind of frustrated because we would sit in the studio and see this beautifully remastered for the time in DVD quality of the shows. And yet you go home at night and you turn on, one of the local stations that were, and they were still running the old scratched up,
the original, right?
Original things. And it was sort of like, ooh. And it took a while. It took a few years for it all to mesh together so that the stuff that was on the broadcast stations and whatnot, I like that red, had caught up with the quality that Greg was using on the DVDs. But it took a while, and I'm saying it will take another few years, if ever, for the remastered versions to get into the streaming services. So it's sad, but it's the way it is. And at least we have it. At least we have it to sleep with, right? So
exactly right. Jonathan, you've worked on a lot of different things, and as a revered television editor, in addition to this project, tell us about some of the other things that stand out for you in your illustrious TV editing career.
I'm just recently wrapped on a Netflix, I guess you call it a drama it'll be out next year. No one's heard of it yet, but so it's pointless to mention the name, but it's been a fun journey. I love picture editing. I love the creative process. Prior to that, I think there's a show that people have heard of called Ted Lasso, that it's kind of a completely different technical skill than what I'm doing with Lucy, but VFX editing for them and creating all the temp versions and to tell the story. And yeah, I've worked for CBS on their network television side as well on police dramas and such. But my favorite part is as much as I love that and I love picture editing and I love the craft, I still love the most excitement is like the archaeology aspect of preserving television history and finding it. That is the most rewarding. Stuff is just getting lost to time, and we're just always excited when something new shows up. And to that point, I think what Tom was mentioning earlier with looking through film cans and such, which there's some other stories too about when we found the I Love Lucy pilot, which had been thought to be lost. We found a 35 millimeter kinescope, and this did make it on the 2014 season 1 set. And, it was just kind of put on. I don't know if it was really publicized as much as it was, but it was such an exciting find for us that, the CBS didn't know. It wasn't labeled properly again. It was just, Tom can confirm what the name was, but it was just something Lucy, Lucy Desi something. And so it was just such a generic title, but you literally have to just pull every canon, which it's not local. So that's a whole process and expense to bring it in from, the salt mines. But to find that in such, for a 35 millimeter kinescope, which usually, if anyone knows about kinescopes, they're 16 millimeter largely. So this was meant to be distributed and to sell the series. So I guess that's why they did it on such a higher quality. You still see the TV scan lines of the era with kinescope, but it was such a special find. And then the costume and makeup test. I mean, when we found that, and it again, Tom will have to tell us what it was named. I don't recall, but it was such a generic title. Like you literally have to pull every can that says Lucy and pray and hope you find what you're looking for. And that was just so fun. I mean, it was before I think it was before the pilot was even shot, but you see these outfits that are Lucille Ball's own outfits that she later wore in the series as Lucy Ricardo, because again, probably budget reasons or such, but it's just so fun to see that. And it's just, it's very exciting. That's the most rewarding stuff for us. Yeah.
What was that name that Jonathan was looking for, Tom?
It just said something like Lucille Ball makeup or something like that. And when we thought, what the hell is that? I assumed when I saw that on the inventory that, well, maybe it was makeup test for one of her faces, like when she pops out of the well and is dressed as a witch and whatnot, because it carried over from motion picture days. Carl Freund, the cinematographer, used to like to see what things looked like on film before you actually had an audience of 350. So she would get all made up and he would take a film shot of it so they could see what it was going to look like. And so I assumed that maybe it was something like that. Nope. It was done, before the show went into production. And as Jonathan said, they're trying, their makeup and wardrobe. The funny thing is, the reason the first 13 episodes had a budget that was like -10, and they did not have a budget for clothes, and so a lot of the stuff that are in the show came from the Lucy and Desi's closet at home, and we've got pictures of her, at home in some of the same outfits that were taken before the show, and no one expected this show to last more than your first 13 weeks. CBS thought, please, it'll never last. So no one wanted to put a whole lot of money into it. And so those first 13, like I said, had next to no budget for anything. And so anyway, she was bringing in her her nightgown and her robe and that sort of thing, again, to see what it looked like when it was good. See, the thing is, it was all black and white. So even though it was beautiful in color, when they did a black and white print, showed it in black and white, how did it look? And so that's why they were doing that. And to find that kind of thing, they'd just been laying there untouched for years. It was in the original bag, and there was dust all over it, and it was like, So that for me, and I'm sure for Jonathan, was one of the wonderful experiences and wonderful byproducts of this whole thing, because in theory, CBS could have again just said, just take the film out of the vault, run it, and we're done. But they knew that this show was something very special to their own history, and they wanted what's there to be preserved for future generations. And thank God for all that, because otherwise it would have been lost. Sooner or later, somebody said, what were we need that for? And it would have been gone. So that was a wonderful byproduct for me.
Absolutely right. There were various versions of the I Love Lucy theme as the seasons went on as well. And it almost started very basic. And then as the seasons went on, it became more rhythmic and percussive, adding the cowbell and things of that nature. And then there was the final part, or the final seasons, where it was bolder and more, and then I used to love when it was when the credits were a little bit slower, because I knew that it would play and then it would reboot again, a full version. Do you have a preference over which version of that closing credits I Love Lucy theme, stands out for you? Tom, start with you.
No, I love it all. But like you, I do enjoy that later one that has the full orchestra back of it and whatnot. The original one is a little on the tinny side, but it got more sophisticated. In fact, the show got more sophisticated. In those first episodes, it's just Lucy and Ricky in the apartment, and then in future, and then she had a baby. We all had a baby for the first time, when she was pregnant. It had never been done on TV that way. There had been ladies on TV who were pregnant, and they usually hid them behind chairs and whatnot, because they never dealt with the pregnancy within the scripts. But they did in this one. And then when the Ricardos and the Mertzes went to California, most of TV viewers went to California for the first time with them. I mean, it was an adventure for us. And when she went to Europe, we went to Europe. Anything. Yeah. So as they got more sophisticated, what you're talking about,
you can see that. Yeah.
It got more sophisticated.
The show seemed to get more sophisticated as they moved to the upstairs apartment. The piano is by the window. They have that beautiful window with the curtains. The furniture gets upgraded. Then, of course, eventually they move to the country home in Westport, Connecticut.
The budget will do for you.
The budget will do. And then they moved to the country home in Westport, Connecticut as well, which was nice. So, yeah, you could see the progression of the money being poured in.
At that period of time, that was reflective of, again, what was going on in society. Big city living had gotten too expensive and too, I won't say dangerous, but it became, big city life changed in the 50s,
Suburban life was,
inner city life moved to the suburbs, and the Ricardos moved right with them, and
so did the Mertzes.
But one of the reasons the theme does that pickup,
yes,
is the crawl got more sophisticated too.
Yes.
They gave on-air credit where they never did before, because the original credits were, I mean, it was maybe what, 18, 20
Shorter.
and over here is like double the size, and so they had to have the music go longer.
You mentioned the trip to Hollywood and they're driving, and of course, all the adventures of driving out with that convertible. I love the episode where they end up having to stay in that rinky dink, like motel room or whatever, by the train track, and the train starts coming and the bed is going and banging into Ethel and Fred, and just the reactions. And of course, William Frawley as Fred Bartz was, the grumpy curmudgeon, was so perfect. His reactions were so perfect, and the play amongst all of them, and the Doris Singletons and all the other guest stars, other people of the day who were a part of it, Mrs. Trumbull upstairs, and just, when they had Desi's, the woman that was acting as Desi's mother and Lucie's mother on, and just you felt very connected to all of the characters, including, the Carolyn Applebys and all the other characters, right?
Right, definitely. Because we all have people in our lives that sort of, are there, like your nails on a chalkboard. It's like,
right. Let me show you all the baby pictures. Remember that, where they were fighting back and forth with the baby pictures? Yeah. It's funny stuff.
All the comedy hits on real life situation things,
I want to let folks know too, as we're talking about this this Blu-ray set, there's a portion of the 1959 CBS Fall Preview Special, Eye on CBS, featuring Lucille Ball and Vivian Vance, presented for the first time on home video. There's also a lot of special features too: the slideshow, cast bios, photo galleries, production notes, Lucy on the radio broadcasts, audio commentaries on select episodes, vintage sponsor spots, the original I Love Lucy pilot, I Love Lucy the movie, flubs, and Christmas rebroadcast footage. So on the Blu-ray, there's a lot of extra material, right?
Right. To Rick's point about what we didn't get to use, I think the only thing that I'm sort of not disappointed at, but I still got my radar out for, is when Lucy became pregnant, she had to lay off about 3 months. And that was right in the middle of the season. And they thought CBS was going to blow a gasket. But they came up with a way of repeating some shows from last year, which had never been done before, in prime time during the heart of the winter season, by having a minute or so at the beginning where Fred and Ethel and Ricky, any variety of those three people, would say, "Oh, remember the time Lucy got involved with such and so?" You get the wavy screen and they're back into the rerun. And those introductions, a lot of them got lost for a long, long time. And Jonathan and I were able to go through, in some cases, personal collections, like director Bill Asher's wife, Meredith, let us borrow a couple of her prints that had those introductions on it, when we were doing the original Blu-rays, the first two seasons. Bob Carroll's daughter, Christina, had the first 100 episodes, as did Madeline Davis. And we were able to borrow some of those. And so, but there are still a few, and there are some on this set that we found for the first time. So they're on here for the very first time. But to Rick's point, are there still stuff out there? Yes, there are still some of those, because they continued to do that throughout the 6 years of the half-hour show, and we don't have them all. And now, indeed, some of them did not do that. If it was at Christmas time, a lot of times their announcer, Roy Rowan, would stand in front of a glittery curtain and simply say, "Happy holidays from all of us at Desilu. Lucy and Desi are on vacation this week, but we wanted you to see one of our favorite episodes, and then bang, they were into it. So they didn't all, but they did recognize they did not show a rerun without letting you know that they knew it was a rerun, because you just didn't do that in those days. The television has changed, so nowadays you see a show again 5 weeks later. But in those days, no. And so, like I say, a few times Roy Rowan would simply say, "It's a rerun, guys." Here it is. But usually there was this introduction. We found a couple we had never seen before, and thank God they're on here. But there are still a few of those we know have to be out.
Probably many, yeah. I mean, Tom has like a airing of when reruns happened, and we're going through and trying to guess, but we have season 1 and 2. We think we found a majority of them. But the latter seasons, there was some country flashbacks that we have a few examples. I think, just one, actually, the country one, Home. But they're pretty fun and amazing. Those are the things we're still on the lookout for. But I just want to quickly talk about some of the other things we had hoped or set our mind for this. But hopefully one day, CBS will open up to more of this. Hopefully the sales do well. One of the things that everyone keeps asking about is the color episodes. So, the ones there's ones that we did before there was a little bit of a change within the CBS Paramount industry, and the new leadership kind of forgot about what we had been doing. So there's some colorized episodes that haven't been seen, and that's where this one with the, sorry, my dog's coming in if you hear the clicking noise, but he's tapping his feet.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so the Loving Cup was one that we felt we could at least sample and get it out there, and hopefully build some momentum and energy to do some others, to get the others out there. I know people are really would love to see the country home, and we've done a lot of research, and there is we have the chickens, and the tango episode has been colorized and is waiting, and I hopefully the fans will enjoy the one that is on this set, and hopefully, if they are verbal and let CBS know what they want to hear on social media, maybe we can get another release going for that kind of stuff and get it out to people. I'd love for them to see it. It's our technology has even gotten better over the years, and very proud of how this one had turned out, and I'd love for people to see it.
It's so great because you're introduced. Well, the super fans are loving it. Many of them commenting as well, but also you're reaching new generations. The newer technology allows this iconic series to be appreciated and seen in this remastered, restored version for years to come as each generation goes along. So it isn't just a matter of, oh, gee, I read about this series, or I heard this series. Like, even if the local television stations weren't airing it as much as they used to, maybe, here it is on Blu-ray, and it's available with all these bonuses, and it's remastered in its beautiful way, right? Right. Other generations get to enjoy this.
Because there's a gazillion of what you just described. I mean, how many, there are gazillion series from the 50s and 60s and whatnot that we saw once, and where are they? And we never see them again, so we don't know if they would get a good audience today or not. Right. And they're just gone.
Yeah,
sadly.
Exactly. And one of the other things that we had set our target on, or optimistic goal for this set, was some of the other, in the Lucille Ball Desi Arnaz show, there was the Westinghouse shows as well, and they would alternate each week. And we would love to get some of those Desilu playhouses out. There's especially the ones with Lucy and Desi. And that was our goal, to get K.O. Kitty, it's an episode title, and the Desilu review, because it has the cast. Maybe one day we'll get it out of the vault and beautifully restored for people. I know people are asking for it. It was definitely on our radar too. But there's music clearances and things like that, and restorations are expensive. And I guess at the end of the day, we felt like there's a lot on this set for people already. So hopefully there's much to enjoy, and hopefully the sales will be great, that we can dig deeper for some of that I know people still want.
And it's amazing, how much Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz put into of their money, their time, their talent into that series. And then in the later series, of course, the Lucy Show, Here's Lucy, and some of the other properties that were filmed on the Desilu set. I mean, the Dick Van Dyke Show and all these other, My Three Sons, Star Trek. It's extraordinary, the work that was done. They just really gave 200% of themselves in these projects. Of course, the three camera shoot, which was Desi's idea for the first time. They never really did that before, getting all those extra angles and film rolling on those. So when they can edit it, they get the different angles. It's really quite ingenious.
Right. And Desi himself appeared on a few of those shows. Like he's in an episode of Our Miss Brooks, which was a Desilu production, and also the series called December Bride. And it would be fun to take those isolated episodes and somehow work them into a release that had all sorts of sort of a grab bag of different things to show how multi-talented these people were, and that they weren't just doing their own show, which was amazing enough the way it was, but also guest starring on some of these other shows.
Did he appear on Mothers-in-Law, His Baby, with Kay Ballard and
he was in that. He's in a two-parter. Yes,
right. I remember that. Yeah. Right, with Eve Arden, Kay Ballard. That's another one that it was hilarious. Friends and neighbors and married kids, and just hitting on all those different topics.
It was written by Bob Carroll and Madeline Davis,
who followed Lucille Ball really throughout.
They used the logic of how do we base our script. They never said, okay, we're going to write a script about Martian's landing or something. They didn't do it that way.
And then why do you think Life with Lucy in 86 around there didn't take to the level that these other times changing? Did the network not really stand behind it? I believe Aaron Spelling was also involved in that. What do you think it was about that particular series that just didn't?
All of those.
All of the above.
Part of it was, and indeed, times had changed dramatically since the Here's Lucy series was ending in 73, 74. By 1986, we'd gone through the Norman Lear era of All in the Family and Maude and those types of TV characters, and we were, also the Mary Tyler Moore Company did sophisticated comedy. And when Lucy came back in, 86, basically doing the same type of comedy that she had been doing her entire television career, it was totally out of step with what was around it. And it was on Saturday night, an hour before the Golden Girls that was on NBC. We were on ABC, but it was on NBC. And they were doing sophisticated stuff. They were talking about with each other about, who hasn't been sleeping with somebody recently. Well, there was a great feeling that even if, first of all, Lucy wasn't sure she wanted to do that kind of comedy. And secondly, I think there was a fear that she wouldn't be accepted if she was, in a comedy talking about menopause and all that sort of thing as a topic. It was a tough one. It was a real tough one to live through. I worked on that show, and they, no one sets out to do a show that isn't successful, but it was out of step with what the rest of society was into at that point. Let me put it that way. That's the best thing I can say about, that. You hit it right on the head,
And she had a wonderful love and friendship with and respect for Gail Gordon, who was with her through so many of her escapades and all the great TV series, including Life with Lucy and Here's Lucy and The Lucy Show. And the two of them, she always said, she depended on Gail, and Gail was just right there by her side. It was really a wonderful respect for each other's talent and a deep, deep regard for one another, Lucille Ball and Gail Gordon, right?
Correct, definitely. I don't think she'd have done the show without him, because everybody else was off and running other places, and it would, because she was trying to do the same similar type of comedy she needed. But the one thing that was missing, and we found out as we went along, she needed a Vivian. Now, obviously, Miss Vance was gone at that point, but there was an episode or two where there was a real strong female character, the last one being Audrey Meadows. The magic between those two ladies was palpable in the studio, and sort of like, oh, if we did 13 of them and there were 9 more, it's called the back 9, you get picked up for all 22. If we had gotten picked up for the back 9, they were planning on having Audrey in the show as much as possible, because they recreated, a loving relationship, but also a touch of what you were talking about earlier with Doris Singleton's Carolyn Appleby. They could love each other one minute and the next, and it worked so well, and yet it was too late for this. If she'd have been in the show from the very beginning, we might have had a whole different result. But the Vivian character, the Ethel Mertz, the Vivian Bagley, whatever her name was at the time, that's what the show needed to move it along, because without that, it just, there she is, yes. That's what it needed. I think that was the one element that was missing, and we found it, but too late.
There was a chemistry, there was a play, a friendship, just like friendship would be, where they're competitive with one another, trying to top one another, but they love one another and always have deep underneath it all,
Right.
and through the end, which is a wonderful story, and everything that they did. I know, of course, Lucille Ball devastated when Vivian Vance passed in 1979. And of course, William Frawley in 66. And of course, he went on to My Three Sons and other things. And of course, Desi Arnaz in 86 and Lucille Ball right after in 1989. And there's been specials, Lucie Arnaz talked about it, that were done in recent years, this recent fervor of everything Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz, and all these shows, and talked about one of the last people that Desi talked to, other than Lucie Arnaz and the nurse on the phone, was Lucille Ball. And they were saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, which was a really beautiful thing, huh?
Right, definitely. They were best friends right up until the end. It was a weird relationship. They were the best thing possible for each other, but they could also be the worst thing possible. It was a weird, wonderful chemistry, But, I occasionally had an assignment that I would be working with her at the house on projects. And I remember one afternoon I was sitting there working with her, and the phone rang, and one of the gentlemen that worked in another part of the house picked up the phone, and he yelled down the stairs, "Lucy, it's your husband." And she said, "Which one?" There you are. It's
yeah.
It was that kind of a relationship. The mere fact that they were no longer married was a legality thing.
Exactly.
Of,
signing it and writing.
Don't have a piece of paper,
Yeah.
But they were as married as they ever were.
They and of course she had the wonderful friendship, as does Lucie Arnaz, with Carol Burnett, another superstar in all of our hemispheres. Just a wonderful, and Carol Burnett looked up to Lucy in so many ways, and Lucy sort of brought her in so many ways. Just really terrific to see, and she always pays homage. There's been so many specials and shows and awards and plays and things done on these shows, and on specifically the whole I Love Lucy franchise. It's really quite amazing. It's still today is astounding, isn't it?
Right, definitely. But I'm so glad it is, because it has just meant so much to me that I'm glad that it's not an isolated thing, you know.
No, not at all. Like I asked Lucie Arnaz, I'll ask each of you, what do you think? And again, you've been immersed in hours and hours of footage and research behind the scenes, the key players, the way the show was put together, the sponsors, the missing footage, the network, CBS, all of it. You know about all of it. The writers, the producers, everybody. What do you think is one or several reasons for this enduring legacy involving this series, I Love Lucy? I'll start with you, Jonathan.
Ooh. It's just so relatable. It's incredibly relatable. Just I can't. Just so many episodes where it just, oh yeah, this has happened to me. You know, I think that's the number one thing. I think, you know, even though with time has changed and technology has changed, and you're able to look past that because of the relatability of social characters and situations. I think that's the number one reason. Yeah.
Beautifully said, Jonathan. And Tom, who's been immersed in this for a long time, what do you think is a couple of enduring reasons why it's such an enduring and continues to be a beloved television series?
Well, in addition to the fact that the writers were able to always hit on human situations, I think Lucille Ball was perhaps one of the greatest actresses, certainly of my lifetime. And I don't think people think of her in that way. But when I knew her, and anybody else that I've ever known has known her, off stage, she was totally sober. And she was very much, you know, just a lady who you'd see at the grocery store, you know, buying the melons and picking up strawberries. But when she was working, she became the character she was playing. And in the case of I Love Lucy, they gave her a character that was so universal. And she acts not only with her voice, but with her whole body. She's almost doesn't need vocal insofar as just by watching her, she acts with every inch of her body. She always wanted to rehearse. She rehearsed and she rehearsed and she rehearsed, and yet drove the other actors a little, and a lot of the guest stars was, how do you work with this all the time? Because she wanted to get going over it and over it and over it until she had internalized whatever it was she was doing. So when she did it, it would not seem like she was an actress doing a part, but she was a person reacting to a real situation. However crazy it was, the lady believed totally in that moment. And one of the byproducts of the fact that she acted with every inch of her body, there were very few jokes in that show. They were humorous moments. That's the things that get the biggest laughs are sometimes just a one word, you know, exclamation. And because of that, these shows have been translated into a gazillion different languages around the world, because people watching her, when she's in the grape vat, for example, there's hardly a word said. She's dancing around with this other woman who thinks she's bonkers, and then they get into a great fight, you know, throwing with. It's beautifully acted. I mean, it's so beautifully acted. And I think that is, you know, to answer your question, I think that's why one of these things lasts forever, is because they're not jokes. They're not line jokes. They're human situations. And an actress was able to present it in a way that works, universally, because you could feel, you knew what that woman was feeling when she was in that great vat, goddammit. You know, it wasn't just her doing a shtick. It was, we were in there with her. And because she acted it so well, it was so internalized with her, if that makes any sense at all.
It does. It does. And of course, the wonderful times where the Emmys were won as well for the work, extraordinary, you know. And whenever she was on camera during these award ceremonies, I mean, the Television Hall of Fame, all these awards and accolades, the Kennedy Center honors, she always paid homage to the writers and to Viv and everybody involved. She didn't make it about herself. She always thanked everybody around her that helped create the character and help, you know, move this to the levels that it became, which I think was such a beautiful thing. And of course, then there was with the Kennedy Center Honors, where Desi Arnaz had said that, you know, I Love Lucy wasn't just a title for the series. And that was quite moving to see. Quite moving. Yeah.
He had just died a few weeks earlier.
He had just passed away. Exactly.
Robert Stack, that had starred in their second, The Untouchables, was there to read his letters.
Exactly. So quite exciting, and people can get the Blu-rays, Amazon and online and everywhere. Or...
Right. There's a lot of online companies offering it. I think it's through Walmart as well.
You can get it at Walmart. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
What are some other projects that Jonathan mentioned? Some cool things he's done and working on. How about you, Tom?
I'm lining stuff up, but I can't really talk about right now. But I can't be not busy. I'm not. I just. There's nothing worse than just sitting here. So I do have a few things in the fire, but nothing I can talk about right now.
So as we broadcasters say, stay tuned. Film at 11, bulletins at once. All right. This was fantastic. Congratulations, guys. I wanted to have you back, Tom, because we had, if you want to see the full episode when Tom was a guest on our show, we were talking about the DVDs and all back then. You can see that archived on our YouTube channel, and we did a deep dive there too. Wanted to have you back, Tom, and then Jonathan, welcoming you as well, because you were immersed in, you know, footage galore all around you, putting this together in the beautiful way with your touch and finesse. It was a pleasure to have an opportunity to meet you as well, and come back and see us. We'd love to hear more about these TV and film related projects that you're working on as well, Jonathan.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So just to put up with the about the comedy hours again, it was a crazy experience, because not one element had every piece we needed. Like we literally had to tap into so many sources and assets. It was quite a feat, and I'm proud at the end of the day that it's back as it was meant to be seen, you know. So that's exciting for people, I think, and for me. So
that's the key too, like he said, right, Tom? Meant the way it was supposed to be seen.
Right, exactly. And as proud as I am of this, it's really 10% me and 90% Jonathan, and his name should be across it in gold. But anyway, I'm glad he's here with us today, so we can say that to him. Like I say, this is him. This is
teamwork. But thank you, Tom. No, it's been great. It's been a great journey. I mean, gosh, I cannot believe in 2006 when we started this that I would be here this far later, and we'd be working on these all along to get it out to people. Honestly, it's really about getting the stuff out that's been so hard to find, that's been lost over time, and that's the most important.
Getting it preserved in some way, shape, or form, because as Jim has said, there are so many things from the early days of TV that we just don't hear of anymore, and yet they were once there. So that's
exactly right. And what's the feedback been from the public at large and from fans? Do you ever get a chance? You're doing the work. This is part of what you do. Do you ever get a chance to hear the feedback from those who really, really appreciate what has been done with I Love Lucy, with the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, and all the wonderful things you've worked on?
Yes, we do get emails from time to time, and so does obviously CBS, and they pass some of them along. So it's very nice to hear that there are people out there who are as delighted with it as we are.
That's the bottom line, right? Well, congratulations, guys. This was a great trip down memory lane. Everybody has been craving nostalgia. I think with the recent couple of years we've all gone through with the health situation and all the rest, pandemic. I whisper that word because that sets YouTube off. So we just say pandemic. They go crazy with it. People have been revisiting the things in their life that make them feel good and comfortable and grounded. And there's some laughter and some joy in a very topsy-turvy world. And series like I Love Lucy and the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Honeymooners and all of these great series, and some of the later ones as well, people have been going back to and taking a deep dive in and learning more and laughing again and crying again and rooting for them again, which I think is a beautiful thing. And we all need to have moments in our lives to go back in time. And it's okay to be a little Pollyanna. It's okay to be a little nostalgic and idealistic here and there. You got to have that balance in life and put on a good I Love Lucy with a, fudge sundae or whatever you want to do, and binge and then check out the Blu-ray and all the extra features. And the life doesn't seem as nutty as it may actually be, right? You like how I sort of meandered through that in my broadcaster way?
I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you for having us.
The pleasure is all ours. Come by and see us again. I told you last time, Tom Watson, we would keep the porch light on for you, and we did, and you jumped back in here at the Jim Masters Show, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. So glad to have you back. Jonathan, thanks for joining us as well. And I hope the two of you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You're very welcome. You guys take care. This has been a Desilu production. It's been a Jim Masters production. Be well, gentlemen. Come see us. Jonathan, thank you for being with us.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And Tom, thank you once again. It's always a delight and a pleasure and an honor to have you with us and keeping that Lucy spirit alive. And truly, I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I once again have with you. I love it. That's the best way to do it. With studio audience clapping. You be well, my friend. We'll see you again. All right. Take care. Cheers. For everybody watching, this episode will now be archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. If you did like or love it, I wish they had a love button, give this episode a like on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and drop a comment. What's your favorite I Love Lucy episode? Have you ever watched and enjoyed the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour? They worked on that as well. And share this episode on your social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, where there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of celebrity friends and guests who have stopped by our series and spent some wonderful time with us from all genres of life, including, as I mentioned, Lucie Arnaz has been with us several times. She's a dear friend. Lawrence Luckenbill, her husband, super talent, has been with us as well. Check out those episodes. And again, if you love the I Love Lucy type material, Thomas was with us as well. Jess Oppenheimer's son, Greg Oppenheimer, was with us. Son of I Love Lucy creator and head writer. Yeah, he digs in deep. Check that out. I mentioned recently Keith Thibodeau, who played Little Ricky, was with us as well, which was really fantastic. And while we're at it, if you didn't see the episode where we paid homage to Andy Gibb, check that out as well. That was a beautiful episode. We've done episodes on some of your favorite TV series, The Dick Van Dyke Show. We just recently did one on The Twilight Zone. 65 years, 60 years of Bewitched. See that episode archived. And also we did an episode celebrating Maude. We did a tribute to Bob Barker from The Price is Right. And coming up, we have another great episode that's coming up today in about an hour from now for those watching live. Tina Cole, Stanley Livingston from My Three Sons, and Herbie J. Pilato are special guests as we share holiday favorites and some of your favorite Christmas TV memories. Yeah, Tina Cole, she was Katie Douglas on My Three Sons. She's been here several times. She's returning today, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, and 1 p.m. Pacific live. Stanley Livingston, dear friend of our show, played Chip Douglas. His brother Barry, of course, was on the show as well on My Three Sons. And Herbie, amazing actor and author. He's been with us and he's got a new book, Christmas TV Memories. We're going to share that in about an hour from now. And as I mentioned, we love dear Lucie Arnaz. She is a big friend of our show, but also a friend of mine as well. She's a real JMS lovety. And whenever we get a chance to be in her presence, it is always something very, very special. As you are as well. All of you are special. We love having you here on the Jim Masters Show. Come see us again. For those of you who are going to stick around, again, Tina Cole, Stanley Livingston going to be with us. Christmas TV Memories, and Herbie with us as well. It's going to be spectacular. So like, comment, subscribe, share, celebrate, and come see us again. I'm your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time till next time. Thanks for the folks that have been commenting as well during the show. Rick Carl, thank you. Rick is now a Jim Masters Show lovety, and that's what we call folks who watch our show and support. Thanks, Jim. Another great episode. Thank you as well. And Sherry, thank you for watching. And Kathleen, some of our lovety regulars. We appreciate you being here as well. And Maureen in Arizona. And Cheyenne, thank you very much. What a wonderful way to remember a blast from all of our pasts. You are so right. Absolutely. Jane watching in Sweden, thank you as well. And also Kathleen and her fabulous comments, and everybody that's been sharing their memories live. But don't forget to drop a comment below, interact with us, and let us know how much you've enjoyed this episode and what are some of your favorite memories of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and Vivian, Vance and William Frawley and the whole gang, Keith Thibodeau and all the neighbors, Mrs. Trumbull and everything from I Love Lucy. And of course, all the other iterations, the Lucy Show and Here's Lucy and Life with Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour and everything else that we talked about. And then some. Again, all on Blu-ray now, the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, the I Love Lucy, and wonderful Lucille Ball and her friendship with Gail Gordon. This was really fantastic. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Jim Masters Show as we celebrated I Love Lucy, also the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, and all the things wrapped around it with Thomas J. Watson, executive producer, director, author, Lucille Ball's former publicist, and also Jonathan Angus, award-winning revered television editor, exclusively right here for you on the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle celebrity talk show series. All right, we need to scoot off. We have another show coming up real soon, again with Tina Cole, Stanley Livingston, and Herbie Pilato. So stay around for that. For all of us here, thank you for being with us. We love having you here on the Jim Masters Show. Spread the word about our show. It takes a village. We love when you do that. It means the world to us. And definitely come see us again. We love having you here. Don't forget to love one another, take care of one another. And don't forget to do the very same for yourself. It's important to do that. And go watch some I Love Lucy and get the Blu-ray. You're going to love it, those bonuses. If you missed anything, joined us late. You can see it archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Be well. We love you all. Take care. And we'll see you soon. We're going to play the theme music with the credits, and then we'll fade to black. Be well. We love you. Bye.